Hello, I'm Sheila Martel, and I'd like to welcome you to Dreams and Dollars, where we talk about dreams that do come true. Our guest today is Larry Finkelberg, Certified Financial Planning at AmeriHome Lending. Welcome to the show, Larry.
Thank you very much, Sheila.
It's wonderful to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Excellent. How I start all my shows, all of our shows here on Dreams and Dollars, is we talk about passion and prosperity and how our guests are marrying those themes together. Tell us what it is exactly that you do and why you love it.
Okay. Well, as certified mortgage planner, at the core, what I do is I provide financing for people that are buying residential properties, whether it's their home, an investment property, second home. We do function as a broker, which basically means that I'm working as an advocate on the client's behalf. I'm looking at different banks, their rates, programs they offer to fit their specific needs. The certified planner piece, though, is where we kind of create some separation in the marketplace. Oftentimes, people look at their mortgage kind of in a vacuum. They say, well, it's a necessary evil. I need to get it in order to buy a home. They don't really understand the impact it has on their broader financial picture. So with mortgage planning, we look at it in relation to the overall financial plan. We love to engage our clients' CPAs, their financial planners, to make sure that we're looking at that debt strategically and how that can be leveraged to help them grow wealth. So that's what we bring our clients, and the clients that understand and appreciate that, there's really a great chemistry there, and they really understand the value that can bring, and that's where I get real satisfaction in what it is we do.
Okay. Why would not everybody not use this service? Because it sounds to me like if I'm buying a home and you're going to advocate for me and shop for me, why would I not do this?
That's a great question. I wish everybody thought that. I think the reason is people just don't know. They look at the mortgage, and a lot of it has to do with advertising and the way that, you know, maybe they were taught how money works, but they just look at it as a commodity. So it's something you go on the internet and you shop for, and you don't need to sit down and communicate with somebody. To me, I see concern in that approach just because for most people, that is unquestionably their biggest debt, leveraged on their biggest asset. And if you're not getting sound advice, there's opportunities to make financial mistakes there. But I think the primary reason is that people just don't really know it's out there, and they don't really understand how important it is.
Is this a huge field? Because if you're saying people don't know.
I think the mortgage planning piece is, I mean, loan originating, you know, people a lot of times they think they just walk into their branch and they get a mortgage. And look, for some people that may be the right approach. The mortgage planning field and the certifications that come with that are much more a niche, and it's not nearly as prominent and well known as just traditional loan originating.
So do you give advice to your clients on their whole portfolio?
Well, I am not a financial planner, so
okay.
I don't make recommendations about how they should invest their retirement, but I do want them to understand that the decisions they make about their mortgage really do impact that. And I'll give you a quick example.
Please.
If somebody is having a difficult time funding their retirement or their child's college fund, they may come to me asking about what kind of rate I have on a 15-year mortgage. Now, all things equal, hey, it's great to get your mortgage paid off, but to do a 15-year mortgage and have that higher payment when you're not able to fund your retirement and your kids' education, to me, I view that as a financial mistake. So I need to talk to people about them and educate them that they need to look at that. Don't select a mortgage that's going to limit you from doing the other things you need to do financially. And when they do have financial advisors, CPAs, financial planners, I always engage them so we're all on the same page. And if they don't, that's an opportunity where I try to introduce them to one so they can get advice in all aspects of it.
So you take that investment very seriously,
Absolutely.
Housing.
Yep. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No, you go ahead, please.
So many people made mistakes. I mean, that's what we saw over the last 4 or 5 years. People just made uninformed decisions or ill-advised decisions based on poor advice that they got about their mortgage, and it put a lot of people back very far financially. So I view it as a huge responsibility and tremendously important.
Were you in the field at that time, like around 2008?
Yes, I've been in it since.
Talk about that a little bit.
It was hard to believe. I mean, I'm somebody who prides himself on being a pretty positive person, but it was literally can this continue to get worse and worse and worse? And it really, it did for a while. I mean, you saw home values and people just get wiped out that had all their money in their home. They had nothing left. And what's happening now is, it's encouraging because I think, I mean, the pendulum has swung a little bit further to where it's almost, some of it's absurd, where people that are very qualified for mortgages sometimes can't get them because of how strict things have got. But I think we're more where we need to be, and the regulation and the requirements for entry into the industry now are such that you can't just hop in and hop out like people used to do. So I think the industry's gotten a lot more professional, which benefits everybody. But it was a wild ride, absolutely.
It sounds like you're very committed to this industry.
Yeah, 13 years. To be honest with you, I kind of lucked into it.
Tell me.
Just a little background. I was in hospitality prior to that, and I was young, in my early 20s. It was fun, but after a while, you know, the hours and work and holidays, it started to grind on me a little bit. And I had a very good family friend that owned a mortgage industry, and every time I saw him at events, he'd, well, you should give it a shot. You probably do pretty well at it. And my whole reason for getting involved in first, so if I don't want to come into work that day, I don't have to. I can make as much money or as little money. It's up to me. And I was really attracted to that. And then as I got into it, the whole entrepreneurial thing and how I was able to help people and develop relationships, I really got hooked. So I've been committed to it really ever since, and that was 2001.
So initially when you started, you didn't have your own business?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Were you on like a commission basis? Or?
Entirely commission. So, and that was, that was nerve-wracking.
And risky.
Absolutely. It was a little bit easier for me because at that time, I didn't have anybody else to worry about except myself. But even with that, looking back on it, if I'd had a family at that time, I still would have made.
You still would have done
the
it?
same decision, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
So talk to me quickly, because I'm wanting to understand. How would you compare being on commission to actually having your own businesses? Like, what would you say are the pros and cons of those?
They're very similar. I mean, with
that's what I would think.
Yeah, with somebody that's on all commission, I mean, you're basically running a personal business. The difference is when you open up a business, then you're responsible for compliance and regulation and staffing and payroll. So there's a lot more administrative stuff. But if you're 100% commission, to me, I view you as self-employed. You just don't have some of the other stuff necessarily to deal with. But at the end of the day, you're responsible to make it rain, whether you own the business or you're 100% commissioned. And I think that's a tremendous thing. I love it.
You love it.
I love it.
How did that work for you, transitioning from kind of getting a paycheck to being on commission?
A little rough at first, but I was pretty lucky in that I got some good advice early on just about how to kind of reach out to my network of people and my friends and my family and people that I knew over the years. And I didn't have to wait too long. The guy that owned the company was very honest. He said, expect 90 to 120 days before you really start to get things going, even a little bit. And he was right. I think I was a little ahead of the curve, but once you get a couple in, you see how it works, and then that's very motivating to me to see, wow, you can do this, and it directly hits your bank account. And it's funny to look back then at what I define success as versus now, but
tell me the difference.
My standards are a lot higher.
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I see so much opportunity, and I'm looking at it a lot more big picture. I mean, just what this industry and being an entrepreneur has afforded me. The opportunities it's afforded me have been tremendous, and I didn't necessarily see that back then. I just saw, wow, this is a way for me to be my own boss and make a good living at it. Now, that still applies, but there's so many other opportunities. I made such great relationships through this business and everything that I've done as a result of it.
It sounds like you love being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about that. Besides sort of being your own boss and controlling your own hours, I know that's one of the biggest appeals of entrepreneurship. People love the idea of being in control of their own schedules. But I know from when we spoke before that it sounds like you're very disciplined and you keep to a structure even though you are an entrepreneur. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. And to that point you just made, the best thing about being an entrepreneur is that unlimited income and that complete flexibility of schedule, it's also the worst thing about being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Because if you don't want to go to work that day, there's nobody that's going to tell you you have to come in. And if you don't go to work, you don't do the things you need to do to earn that paycheck. And sales and entrepreneurship is the highest paid profession, but it's also the lowest. So there's another side to that. But I do believe that the activities that you do are far more important than the results that you get. What I mean by that is you can't control, for example, if you're a door-to-door salesman, you can't control how many people are going to say yes to the vacuum that you're selling when you knock on the door.
You're going right back to basics here, right?
We're right, but what you can control is how many doors you knock on.
Okay.
And to me, when you hold yourself responsible to the activities, not the results, the results always come. And you feed off the fact that you told yourself you were going to make 25 phone calls, have one lunch with a strategic partner, and you did all those things at the end of the day. So specifically what I've done is I basically have a sheet, I call it my weekly disciplines, that I hold myself entirely accountable to. And it's everything from how many times I'm going to exercise in a week, and how many phone calls I'm making, how many appointments I'm scheduling, how many past clients am I engaging with. And as I do them, I check them off, and if I don't get them done at the end of the week, I have nobody to blame but myself. But you find that if you do those things, the results always come, and you can almost count on them to a T. The
You can
numbers
just
hold.
bank on them.
You can just bank on them.
So you're really a big believer in personal accountability.
It's the only way to do it as an entrepreneur.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after this public service announcement.
We are different. Society should aspire to be more like us.
Be part of the first class. Get energized. Get outside.
Hold on, guys. It's gonna get bumpy.
And get moving. Experience the power of physical activity. Join the movement at actionheroalliance.com.
This is one amazing truffula tree. Can you imagine a place where these grow everywhere? Yes, it's called the forest, a magical place to enjoy with your family.
Ooh.
So discover the forest and explore all the wonder that's there. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Every book is an adventure waiting to come to life. Visit new worlds. Encounter new friends. And discover the power of reading. Go to read.gov to read A Princess of Mars, the first novel to feature John Carter. A new world awaits. Read.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Welcome back to Dreams and Dollars and our guest, Larry Finkelberg. So I want to continue on this theme you started for us, Larry, about entrepreneurship and about the discipline and the dedication, because those themes can sound a little boring.
They sure can.
I wanted you to talk a little bit about that, and also tell us: do you have a home office? Where do you work? Like, how do you? What does your day look like, essentially?
Sure. As far as what my day looks like, I am an early riser. I always have been. I do try to get a jump on the day, get a little personal time in for myself. Try to get to the office early, and then I really do try to end my day about 5 o'clock. I've got a family. That's a very important thing to me. And I could easily work around the clock like every other entrepreneur, but balance is a pretty important thing. So for me, the office...
So you actually rent an office and pay for it?
Yes. And I don't know if I could do it any other way. Now, I don't mean to suggest that home offices don't work for everybody, but I find that people look, well, that's an easy thing to take out of the budget. You know, well, if I don't pay for an office, I'll save X number of dollars a month. I found that the office, going in there is a mental thing for me.
Okay.
I'm at work. I'm not at home. I can't get distracted. I don't have to worry about all the things you have to do around the house. The temptation to just watch TV or whatever it might be, exercise, it's just not there because I am at work. And that's a clear separation for me. The other thing is, I see my clients in my office. I do not, whenever possible, I do not meet them at their house. Again, my business, you could go either way with that, but we spent a lot of time and energy on making our office a very welcoming place. It doesn't feel like a bank. And I think that when our clients come in and they get that experience, there's a level of comfort and confidence that they get in me and in our firm as a result of having that office space rather than me running from my home office to see different people all over the place.
So it's professional. It creates a boundary for you. This is the beginning of this, and
exactly right. I mean, the boundary thing is huge for me, and then obviously the clients don't. We're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars with these clients.
Of course.
They want to have a place where they feel, okay, this is an established business. They know what they're doing. They're here to stay.
So it's a credibility factor as well.
Yes. I think initially that's a big thing for the clients. We get a lot of comments from them about, wow, what a nice office. And we have, in our lobby, we have a welcome sign up. So all of our clients that are coming in for that day, we welcome them, offer them drinks. You know, we try to make it kind of feel comfortable for them, which is important when people are generally very uncomfortable about the process of getting a mortgage. So we try to help with that a little bit.
That was actually going to be my next question. You're just sort of leading me there. Is how do you deal with that issue of people coming in not knowing after the mortgage crisis, new people new to mortgages, or people who have lost money, like your different types of customers and how you deal with them?
Well, I really try to listen, but when people come in, they're scared. And the process now is, I mean, you are seeing everything. I mean, when somebody's sitting down to get a mortgage now, you are credit reports. So you see their payment habits, you see the kind of savings habits they have, what they've put away for retirement, how much money they make. And that's a very, very personal thing for people. I mean, some people, they don't even tell their spouses about everything that's going on. So it's very important for me to make them feel comfortable in sharing that. And I really try to do that by explaining in a very simple way what the process is about. I don't sugarcoat it because nowadays getting a mortgage it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, even for those that are very qualified. So it's about setting expectations, coaching them through what's going to happen, and then really do a good job of asking them questions and listening to what they say. In fact, one of the questions I typically start with is, what is it about a mortgage that's most important to you? And I usually get the same look. Nobody's ever asked me that question before. What do you mean?
Finance my home.
Right. And then they start to think about, well, what is it about a mortgage that is most important to me? Is it, well, everybody thinks the rate, and that's obviously important, but there's other components to it that people, if they start to think a little bit bigger picture, and that's when we can really start to have a conversation, and I can make recommendations based on other concerns that they have, not just, I want to get this house.
So what would be another concern? What's an example of that? Another concern someone would have?
Well, I mean, people just worry about, you know, is this the type of mortgage that, you know, is the rate going to change? What my neighbor had this and that, and am I getting in a situation? Can I pay this loan off early? So there's all these concerns. Some of them warranted, some of them just misconceptions. But there's so much anxiety around the process now, given what, you know, and I'm sure everybody knows somebody that's lost a home to foreclosure or something like. So there's a ton of anxiety built around it, and it's just you have to have that dialogue and go through the process and let them know that I am their advocate. I'm on their team. You got to tell me everything, though. If we're going to get this done the right way, I've got to I've got to know what's going on. So
It sounds like a mix of caring and customer service that you're giving, and at the same time professional information.
Right.
It's kind of both of those components.
Absolutely. And people do want to know enough to where they feel like they've got a handle on it. And that's one of the big focuses, especially when I have like first-time home buyers. They'll come in and you could see it in their face. They're completely overwhelmed. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what is this? And I want them to leave the office saying, okay, I've got it. He's got me. I'm armed and dangerous. I know what I need now to go out there and find a home. So there's a lot of time spent. My initial conversations are usually an hour and a half. It's a long time. But we really get down to it, and I answer all their questions and explain everything they need to know.
Are you a people person?
I think so. I mean, there's times when I just need my space, which I guess, isn't different. Right.
Yeah.
But more than anything else, I think that's what I really thrive on is the relationships that I've been able to build, not just with clients who have become friends, but also, the people you do business with, financial planners I've gotten to know, people through, involvement in other organizations. And that's what keeps me going. And I've been lucky to have, great family and great friends throughout my life. And those relationships have been in place for a very long time. So
I see you as being a very community-oriented person.
Yes.
You are.
Yeah. I'm involved very heavily in the Chamber of Commerce in Rockville. I serve on the board there. I head up the marketing committee. And that was never a reason for me to get business. That was never my intention. It was, how do I get engaged in the community? And, I was lucky through that to serve on a committee for the housing situation in Rockville. So opportunities to give back, engage with charities and things like that. And then other things I do, like Toastmasters and other organizations I get involved in.
Let's talk a little bit about Toastmasters, because that sounds like that's a professional development piece that you're committed to.
Absolutely.
And what do you think are the advantages to Toastmasters?
I think that they're almost endless. And I mean, I hate to say or overstate it, but forget about the ability to speak well. And I mean, and as somebody that occasionally goes to seminars, you see somebody up on a stage, they're talking to 2,000 people, and a good speaker owns the entire room. It's a tremendous power. It's a tremendous, whatever you're conveying to people, there's no better way to do it than public speaking. But beyond that, there's a real leadership component to Toastmasters. And I mean, I've learned how to facilitate a discussion, lead a committee. And those are things I didn't think about when I first got involved. And those actually come into play more frequently than public speaking. Just, sitting in a room with 10 people and you're leading that discussion. That's a skill that a lot of people just don't have, and you can learn through Toastmasters.
So it's been a real asset to you.
Absolutely. I recommend it to anybody.
You recommend it. That's wonderful. So what do you do when you're not working? Tell me what you do when you're home with your family. Like, do you guys watch TV? What do you do? What do you do? Do you cook? Do you listen to music?
We do. My daughter's a big fan of music. She's actually one of the things that her and I do together, which I absolutely love, is we got her involved in Taekwondo when about a little more than a year ago, and I thought it was so great the way they did it that I started doing the adult kickboxing. I don't know if I don't know how well I do it, but it's great exercise and it's a lot of fun, and it's something that we can do together. But my wife and I we have great friends, great family, and that's our focus. We just love getting together with the people we care about. So that's how I unplug and recharge a little bit.
With people that you want to be with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because being with friends and family is different. It's not on the same way as you are in business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do feel like that sometimes. I mean, even with, my business partner who, we've known each other.
So you have a partner.
We've known each other since I got in the industry. And even, he and I, we kind of catch ourselves, we're friends, but when you're in that environment, you're very professional, and it's all, let's get it done, and sometimes you need to disconnect and
absolutely
and
recharge.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to ask you before, as we close here, what would be like one or two tips that you would give to a starting entrepreneur?
The first thing I think is spend some time thinking about what you want. That I know sounds basic, and I think that a lot of entrepreneurs do that. They see that end game. but they don't really spend a whole lot of time thinking about how they're going to get there.
Okay.
And I think that's the breakdown. So if your goal is to own a business that has 10 employees and generates $5 million in revenue, and you know what the profession is, well, that's great. But that's a huge down-the-road goal. Break it into bite-sized pieces. Hold yourself accountable to it. I mean, that's the only way that it can be done, because if you look at that vision 5 years down the road, it's too much, and you get overwhelmed, and that's when people quit on it. So take it down to the
bite-sized pieces is one of your...
Yeah, absolutely. Break it into bite-sized pieces, and then do not make excuses. And I see it all the time. People do, I was late because the traffic was bad. Well, maybe you should have left a little bit earlier. I didn't do this because the market. I couldn't make this sale. Well, those things are all true, but you can't control that. You can only control yourself.
So it goes back to your early advice about the actions, not the results.
Absolutely. I'm really a firm believer in that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Larry, really. Thank you so much for
pleasure
being with
was all
us.
mine. Thank you for having me.
You've taught us so much about the mortgage industry and about entrepreneurship in particular. Thank you for joining us on Dreams and Dollars. I'm your producer and host, Sheila Martel. Please tune in next time for another inspiring episode of Dreams and Dollars.